Hello, how are you all doing? Welcome. I think we can do better than that. Welcome to the Lighthouse Book Summer Garden. Oh, that was even better than I expected though. So you surpassed expectations. We're here tonight to celebrate the book launch of the incredible Michael Mullen. Now, he's done his warm-up launch over in Glasgow. You know, he needed to dust all the cobwebs off the performance over there on the West. So he's bringing us his A game, his premium cut this evening in Edinburgh in Lighthouse Books. Now, this is his debut collection, Goonie, and it's been published by the amazing Corsair, Little Brown Books, an incredible publisher of poetry who are very selective with who they take onto their list. And they're casting one of the most strident new voices in poetry into that mix because they've got incredible taste. Now, Michael's been on my radar for many years. I saw him on a BBC talent scheme. He initially came into Noirike, and I actually devised a small publishing press because I wanted to publish his poem. It didn't exist until Michael's poem arrived in my life. So we're going to have a couple of readings from some guests that Michael's invited along tonight. There's some of his co-winners of the incredible Edwin Morgan Prize. Now he's going to introduce them to you himself. And then I'll have a quick chat with Michael about this book, about how he started writing, about how it came to be, about how it came to be so brilliant alongside that. And then there'll be lots of poetry readings throughout the night, small pepperings of poetry from all of us. And then you'll get your main course of Mullen to see you off into the night, and there'll be a brief period of time where you can ask a few questions. Make them good, make them sexy, smutty's acceptable too. So if you could give a warm and rapturous round of applause to your man of the evening, Michael Mullen.
Clapping myself, not very good form. Hello, thank you so much for coming. A lot of lovely faces. Know most of you, which is actually quite nerve-wracking. So we have to pretend that I'm performing and I don't know you and you and you and all of you really. Few people I don't know, so I'm going to look at yous, if that's okay. Thank you for coming. So yes, a couple of years ago, me and these fabulous people over here won the Edwin Morgan Poetry Award. And I'm going to invite them up to give you some poems and get the night started off in a beautiful fashion. So I think I'm going to ask Roshni Gallagher to come up first. Don't have a bio, so I'm going to just say gorgeous, erudite, fabulous, thoughtful. Do you think that's a fair representation? Big round of applause, please, for Roshni.
Thanks so much for having me, Michael. I'm just so excited to be here to celebrate your book. I'm just going to read a few poems to start us off. So they're from my pamphlet, Bird Cherry. So this poem, this is one that I wrote about my granny. My granny dreams of Guyana. My granny looks at me and she sees herself. Her living room full of glasses, half drunk. Pictures of gods hang above the bed. She listens to a record spinning out in another room, another house. The rant of rain on begonias, mangrove and wood slats, the parrots asleep. Things change. I try to pull quiet in to cover us. The walls sing. She looks at me and she sees herself. In the slant moon, the water, the waning bank. Thank you. So this next poem is loosely about my granny as well, and it's a true story. And this is about a pair of earrings that I inherited on my 21st birthday. Jumka. They probably burned down the trees to mine it, pumped water into the soil, lifted ore from the sluice, and mixed it with a thin stream of mercury that caused the muscles in their ungloved hands to tremor. In the story my grandmother tells, her father, at work in the pits, steals a piece of gold from under the boss's nose, hides it in his shirt pocket, and carries it like a key through the miles of dark rainforest home, and hammers it into earrings for his daughters. Currency to ward off evil in the shape of small bowls, bells, abundance. Okay, I'll just read two more. So this poem I wrote up in Aberdeenshire last year. And it responds to a quote from the Dhammapada. And the quote is, "There is no pain like this body. There is no happiness higher than rest." Cullican Bay. Lying together in the bell heather, under the Perseid shower, a short walk from hell's lum, the red stone cliffs looked like a person curled up. There must have been great gusts of wind somewhere, propelling the turbines on. But I felt that there was no distance between you and I, and no one to say that we deserved less than what we had. Half asleep, I saw a shoal of fish glinting metallic above us. And I'll just finish on this poem, which is the first one in my pamphlet. April River. That morning, I said too much. It felt like stumbling out into the garden at night and plunging right into the pond. Later, too much followed us out on the drive and out through the fields, followed whilst the heat made moons of our upturned faces as the clouds dandelioned apart. I wanted to unloosen into the ice of the April River. I wanted to be a gill. The water was clear and cold and quiet, its depth a boulder against my belly, my eyes still sticky with pollen. In the river, I found every river I'd ever touched, meadow sweet and wet trouser cuffs. I wanted to be cleansed like blooming silt, like water over rock. Instead, the river dappled and deepened its mirror, and I met myself unchanged. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Roshni. Next, we have the fabulous Titi Farokuoye, and we live very near each other in Govanhill. You still in Govanhill? No, where do you live now? And the Gorbals, well, the Gorbals will feature later, so it's actually foreshadowing. Please put your hands together for Titi.
It's so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having us, Michael. And it's such an honor to, circle back and celebrate together and just be like, yeah, this group or, yeah, there's so much and coming together around your launch and this book is a privilege for me. So I'm really honored to be here. The first poem is from something unpublished. I'm working on a book that's focus on trans and non-binary experiences. So this one is, don't put gender on me. Don't put gender on me. I'm not a good girl. I'm good though. I'm also bad. Most importantly, I can imagine my body outside of the gender paradigm. I can't help you if it's gender. If this gender binary is what you go by. Actually, I'm happy for you. It means that you might remember the last 10 years, that they are in the chuckled blur of trying to fit what doesn't make sense. And then I'm going to read a second one from this. Thank you. If I find it. And this one is called, I'm going to put this a bit lower, Cis Paradise. The only funny thing in all of this is the cat. He, she, they see no pronouns as a girl, girl, girl in their eyes, but not a girl of their kind. I saw her testes on my first day and smiled. What a lovely cat, I thought. I loved her strongly before, but now my love is fierce. She's one of mine. Love, love, love. I even saw her dick as she woke from an erect dream on the veranda, and slightly put off, I smiled at that trans cat trapped with me in this cis paradise. And then from my pamphlet, which is actually here on the table next to Goonie, is Free Bleed, which is also in the queer theme. And it's me maybe reminiscent of my old activist days when I was just starting out and we were sitting around as young students trying to talk about period poverty and period empowerment and menstruation. And this girl came up to us and said, yeah, I free bleed all the time and it's the most free and cool thing ever. And I, astounded and embellished by that idea, I was like, yeah, I do that too, even though I'd never conceptualized what that could be or what that would look like. And it was a really formative moment. And years later, it came back to me and I wrote this poem around it. I'm gonna take a sip of water first. Free bleed. She sits on her throne and bleeds free. Green velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick thighs majestically decorate the prosperous seed. She bleeds free. A generous lump escapes, crumbling into a matte white towel. Don't you dare think of bleach. This majestic stain will stay as Her Majesty bleeds free. He sits on his throne and bleeds free. Free velvet cushions stained in, free velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick thighs majestically decorate the prosperous seed. He bleeds free. A generous lump escapes, crumbling into a matte white towel. Don't you dare think of bleach. This majestic stain will stay as His Majesty bleeds free. They sit on their throne and bleed free. Green velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick thighs majestically decorate the prosperous seed. They bleed free. A generous lump escapes, crumbling into a matte white towel. Don't you dare think of bleach. This majestic stain will stay as Their Majesty bleeds free. She sits on her throne and bleeds free. Green velvet cushions framed in gold. Thick thighs majestically decorate the prosperous seed. He sits on his throne. Green velvet cushions framed in gold majestically decorate the prosperous seed. They bleed free. This majestic stain will stay. She sits, bleeds free, bleed free. Dare think of bleach. Thick thighs majestically decorate golds. Bleed free, velvet cushion. Thick thighs, think of bleach, framed in gold. They bleed free. She sits, he sits. Thick, majestic thighs. Sea bleeds free. Generous lump crumbling they sit, their majesty bleeds free. Thank you. Well, that's not on time, so I think I'll go. One more. Okay, I'll do one more because Michael said and I forgot to check time. So it's a short one. This is one that I barely ever read, but it's really old and I think I actually do like it. It's called Nature. Nature. My skin registers the air first. Most visible in the wind is my hair. Goosebumps develop all over my body. I breathe, take a deep breath, ground my toes in the soft, moist grass. My chest lifts. For a split second, I share freedom with the bird above me. For a split second, I am closer to the sun. I'm back, closer to the grass, heels grounded, feet hip width apart. I lift my face to the sun and smile. Like the old Norwegian lady, happiness spills over my face and through my body. I imagine I feel like her, feel that moment when she encounters the first sunlight of the year, after a long, eternal winter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I didn't introduce myself earlier. I was too excited. It was like a dog tied up in a league outside Tesco. You let me off and I was there. And Michael was standing beside me, all happy and excited for his launch. It's not normally there. You bring them on. And I just got into it. So I'm Michael as well. You know, that's why I got the job. Similar named. Thought I'd keep it simple for the night. I'm Michael Peterson. I'm the Macker, the Poet Laureate in here in Edinburgh, the Writer in Residence at Edinburgh University. And I've had the privilege of working with Michael, both in a sort of mentorship capacity. I use that very loosely when he won the Emerging Writers Programme that I was one of the judges for, and also with Noriki and some of the live events capacities as well. So I've seen Michael blossom, develop, evolve, soar as a performer, as a human being, and as all those incredible things that circle around it. So I'm going to do a couple of quick poems and then invite him up to chat to me a bit before he unleashes a goonie-shaped reading upon you. How does that sound? Good. There's no plan B, just a more awkward henceforth, so I'm glad you're behind it. I'm going to do a quick love poem. I think it can be quite a sort of naked, vulnerable, forthright thing to open with a love poem. You know, all the weights, all the atrocities that we're carrying around at the moment, everything that's pushing us against it. It can be almost an act of rebellion to be that openly soppy about love. It also gives you a passport to get into the weirder shit as the night progresses, and I'm hoping we'll very much go there. So this was written on the cusp of a new relationship. You know, your heart's bumping around like the dodgems. It's spinning like the waltzers. You're like a sort of fish out of water, jinking around everywhere, not knowing what to do with yourself. And if you're anything like me, you go in hard and fast in these new relationship environments. You give all of yourself too much, too quickly. And it sort of consumes you. You want the person, you desire them so much that you want to eat them alive. And then the next day, you maybe have a good night's sleep. You remember you've got friends, you've got family, the cat needs fed, the plants need watered, and it's something lesser you need from them in an emotional capacity. It's a very confusing time. So I've written a self-help guide to anyone going through that process. It's called Obsessive Cannibal Love Poem. Today is yes, please, and now, to zipping your skin around me and wrapping up in you like a winter coat and matching scarf. And walking barefoot on powdered snow, you the flakes between my toes. The biscuits I have brought to snack on are your bones, baked and sweetened. Like counting stars, I do not think I will ever be done kissing you. Honey all over, and deep inside I will swallow your dancing tongue, take your daydreams into my night dreams all now, wave heavenly, ethereal gleam on wet tarmac. Enemy of the rain which falls between us that has no business being there. Other days, a text message or we chat on the phone will do just fine. I never can tell. Thank you. I've got one more short poem from you. from you, for you. You can give it to me as well if you want. It's a two-way process. So when I was growing up, I write a lot about friendship now, particularly male friendship. It's a fascination, an obsession, a passion of mine. Anything we can do to break down those sort of stoicisms and have these sort of frank, emotionally rewarding sort of love affairs of friendship. Anything we can do to offer men the opportunity to break down those boundaries and have these soppy, sentimental, enriching, life-changing experiences, I feel we should be doing. Now, when I was growing up, my dad, he was quite a sort of stoic, working-class Scottish guy. Didn't have a very big friendship group at all. In fact, he mainly had one friend called Colin from Ireland. Colin moved back to Ireland. My dad's pretty much been done with friendship since. Colin comes back every couple of years. They go to the pub. They have 3 pints, no more, no less, and that's enough for him. Perhaps not enough, but it sustains him for this period of time. My mum and her sister, they were the polar opposite of that. They're almost the friendship antithesis of that. They had so many friends. My mum has friends from her maternity nursing, from her school days, from her nursery nursing, from her cat club. Not as kinky as it sounds. From her gardening club, from all of that. Her best friend from when she was wee comes round to the house twice a week still. And they chat each other's faces off so much they have jaw ache the following morning. In fact, they don't want to be out with each other. Even in the house, they're like magnets following each other around in this pinball environment. They follow each other into the toilet, they piss in a carousel, and they come back out of there further down the line on the same story. And I thought, fuck me, that's the epitome of incredible friendship. I want a piece of that friendship pie. And my sister, as long as I could remember, she had friends to stay over. They hid under the sheets together, they linked arms, they spilled secrets, and they left sort of coddled around each other on the way to school the next day. This beautiful physical vocabulary to their friendship. And I tried to emulate that, replicate that. And all the friendships I had around me, the male friendships in particular in Portobello and Leith when I was growing up, to absolutely disastrous, scaring off friends left, right and centre. And I thought, years from now, when this ship balances out, if indeed it does, I'm going to write a swan song, a little beacon of hope to the boys of the future. And this is that poem. It's called Boys Holding Hands. Boys holding hands become men holding hands. Because learning to dance starts haptic and here. A rumple of pinkies, the trill of palms. Another skin blossoms beyond its sleeve. Another fist unpeels its fingers like bud unhooks its petals. The antithesis of the hand. For we are best friends. Slow suns, gauche, promise, hold me as language drifts through the throat of the wrist. Thanks very much. I'll bring this back for you, Michael. So I'm going to welcome up to the stage now to have a quick zesty confab with me, the Edwin Morgan Prize co-winner, the debut collection Dynamo of Goonie, a graduate of the Noi Riki camp of BBC Talent, and a Guardian reviewed and about to be featured on BBC Loose Ends radio programme, incredible Michael Mullen.
Thank you very much. I actually hurt my ankle, so that's why I was hobbling over, because I was trying to see a fight in the middle of Edinburgh, which you don't often get here, but I had to see it.
Oh, well. And was it impressive? Was it worth it?
Well, they never quite got to blows,
So-
and then I hurt my ankle.
I'm going to say you were watching as a sort of venerable citizen working out whether you needed to offer someone aid rather than pure spectation.
Absolutely. Me and Kev did not have a bet on it.
So Michael, when I came across you, it was 2019, 2020. I was judging the BBC Talent Scheme for Scotland. We got hundreds of submissions for sort of future poets, future performances, and yours just stood out. It ensorcelled me. I immediately knew it was an incredible performance alongside being this sort of lyrically wrought, well-researched piece of poetry. I didn't know who you were, but I knew I wanted to find out more. And I want to, before I go forward, just go back a little bit. At this point in time, I think you'd maybe been studying at Stirling, maybe even under Kathleen Jamie, the previous Scottish Macker. But where did it all start? What was your sort of first discovery of poetry? What lit the fuse for you? What, I guess, brought you from there to here today? What was the bonfire beginning in Michael Mullen's belly?
Well, I am the grandson of an English teacher, so that definitely was the first sort of wee inkling. And I can remember even when I was quite young that my granddad would give me his own writing that was in progress to read. And it was actually a story about how he, the character, didn't like his children. So, and he had 5 kids. And then on the other side of my family, 6 kids. My dad's just corrected me there. And on the other side of my family, very big working class Glaswegian characters. So on one hand, I'm getting like, you know, William Blake before primary school. And on the other hand, you know, very, very big characters that were just as full of language, slightly different language. But I've kind of always been around words and they've always fascinated me. And actually, all variances of language, whether they be coarse or highfalutin, I've always been an interest.
Yeah, you're fascinated by language, and you can see that. It's not just in the words you use, but it's in the way that you sort of navigate the page. You're using it as a sort of apparatus. There's a lot of shape poetry in there and concrete poetry. And immediately when I saw your poetry written down, I was thinking of Edwin Morgan. You know, he came to mind. He's one of my favourite poets as well. And the stylistic vibrance and, I guess, expressionism, but also the experiments that you were using in your writing felt very Morgan-esque. Is that someone you were learning about when you were at university, inspired by? And also, Michael Mullen, Edwin Morgan, you're going to end up beside each other on the bookshelves in a lot of places, which is good to be.
I just realised that today, Morgan Mullen, that we're actually doing a wee back-to-back. I'm rubbing up against them. I don't actually have a conscious memory of the first time I discovered who he was. I think he's kind of always been in my brain lore.
Just researched him when you won the award. You thought, who is this guy?
And I did dedicate a poem to him, which obviously was in no way a cold, callous ruse to win the award. He was also from Rutherglen, where I'm from. Shout out to Rutherglen, thank you, Kev. And he was also queer, but we're, you know, a couple of generations apart. But I think, the first time reading his poetry, there's also that thing of like, you can't be it if you can't see it. So actually having that very, very real example was really, really impactful. And also because I think, especially in Glasgow and Scotland as a whole, there's a real mix between being playful and being sort of humorous, but also not being afraid of grit and sort of the darker stuff.
Yeah, as much as you summon Edwin Morgan, I think you summon the sharp, fierce vernacular of a poet like Tom Leonard. And then, you know, there's a real romanticism to that, whether that's someone further back like Oscar Wilde or whether we're pulling it into contemporary writers like Ocean Vuong. There's these sort of beautiful, almost salivating at language. And that was obvious as soon as I came across you in this BBC talent scheme. And then I decided I was going to we already published anthologies, but I decided I was going to found a press. And it was your poem, Gay Voice. It felt like a title leading poem. And it was the only piece of yours I'd seen, and I just knew we needed to sculpt something around it, and it's incredible to see it in this book. And I just wonder, I know it was an important poem for you when you wrote it as well, and it was one of the first ones you filmed and recorded, and a lot of people heard it. So does that still feel like a sort of hit single now that you've got the collection out as well?
Very much so. I mean, in a way, I'm only a poet because I can't play guitar. So I do think of the book being the album, and that is definitely, I would say that was my first single. Thanks to yourself, of course. But I still love it, you know. I don't have that, you know, some people are like, oh, I'll never play my big hit. I will always play my big hit. And I do think it encapsulates a lot of what I'm trying to do as a poet, and it's still quite a good representation of that. And yeah, we need to celebrate the gay voices out there.
And it was a celebratory poem, but it was historical. It was thrashing against the world, but mostly it was sort of rallying towards togetherness and the light of it all. And very quickly after that, we published that. And then I was curating a big show at Edinburgh International Book Festival, a thing called Good Grief, exploring the sort of positivity and getting together to grieve in that public experience. And I invited you to do a reading at that. And I think outside of some uni slams, it was your first sort of, I'm a writer, on a bill, charging a ticket price for it. And you were on alongside Holly McNish and E.A. Hanks, Tom Hanks's daughter, and a pretty formidable lineup of writers. And that was at the world's biggest book festival at that point in time. So I feel like if that was your first reading, where does it go next? You know, that's a good way to arrive into the mix, but you just took it all with humbleness and charm and humour and just delivered with bravura. And I think it was at that night my agent saw you, who was also, you know, representing Kay Tempest and Dean Atta at this time and loads of brilliant writers, and snapped you up. And then this collection, it didn't feel like it took that long for it to find a home, and I think it's found a brilliant home. So what was all that? Was that sort of like a whisk of a journey for you, or do you feel like you were marinating that experience and sort of ready for it for a long time?
I think a mixture of the both. I was always writing, but I wasn't so much in spoken word or poetry scenes. And I did my master's at Stirling in about 2020, so you can guess what's coming next. And then I said, right, I know who I am, I've got it, I'm going to reveal myself to the world. And then the pandemic happened, and I said, okay, well, I can do this from my bedroom. So I think I always felt I was definitely ready to do it. But, you know, the world was closed down. But in a way that worked really, really well, because actually by the time things were opening up again, I was ready to like hit the ground running. And yeah, some of the oldest poem in Goonie is about 10 years old, and the youngest is about 2 months. So yeah, it's a real mixture it's a love letter to the 20s, which died.
And it's amazing, it's such a compact volume of poems, but it packs such a huge and generous and gargantuan and emotionally resplendent sort of poetic journey in the different poems that you put into there. Sometimes it feels like we're eavesdropping on conversations with people. With some of them, we're there with you in these deeply personal moments. We visit you as a young boy alongside. It definitely feels like a memoir in poetry form, and it's came out on this brilliant big London publisher, and you've already had like an incredible review in The Guardian and these BBC appearances, which doesn't happen to everyone, and it deserves to happen to you, but at the same time it still must be a thrill to see it being cherished and relished to the degree it is.
Absolutely. I mean, this could be the point where I feign imposter syndrome, but it feels correct, actually. No, that feels right, yeah. I deserve it, yeah.
And before I ask you to read it, I just want to talk about the book. Now, this is an incredible looking book, really beautiful aesthetic to it. I mean, this carpet looks like it's seen 3 to 5 generations of stains, and it hides them all well. So I just want to know, what about the cover? What about the image? Because at one point were we not on a hunt for a picture of you in a goonie?
We were, which does exist, and there's actually a photo, and we had the idea of using a real photo, but I think, to be candid, I was a wee bit like, okay, working class poem, get the photo, prove it.
Yeah.
Other stains on the carpet and all that. And then there was other ones that were like very, very almost sexual. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the poems are sexual. But I think if you know me personally, a CD cover isn't quite the right one either.
Yeah.
And when we saw the carpet, I'm saying we, me and Kate McKevney there, who I keep, that's my sidekick Kev, who I keep referring to. Something about the carpet, we just went, that's it. You know, it's timeless, but it's abstract and it's direct.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
I think we could say all those things about you as well. And we've talked about the aesthetic of the book. We've talked about its fantabulous style. And now we want to see that in action. So I think I've taken up enough of your time conversationally. I'm going to bring this back over. And are you ready to enthrall these people with a reading?
I will try my very hardest. And a big clap for Michael, thank you. I wouldn't really be here without Michael, so, you know, a lot of the credit goes to him. So, going to start off quite somber. First one is about suicide and things of that nature, so this is a trigger warning. And then we'll get cheerier. Let's make sure that's stable. Yeah. It's stable enough. Harvest. So what will we do for our forgotten crop of boys? Swinging through Scotland's trees, a flock of strangled gasps. Ringtones bleating out their tunes, becoming missed calls. A text chimes, Mike, where are you? Jim, gonna answer me? Thatcher cleared your fathers out the factories and knew your sons hing for their structures. Rivers swollen with the bulk of fleshy pebbles, boys trying to disappear into an intimate, stoned darkness. Then it's the tick, tick, ticking of unpaid tick bills. Can't just be the gear, the fear, or the pills. For some boys, the dawn just seems to sear a little more vicious. Holding on to health like it was an icy dripping in June. Then it's the shimmering sing of silver on bone as trains get cancelled. Commuters tut and curse, choking to get home. And Facebook is a graveyard. Statuses flash, their epitaphs, can't believe that's Big Decky past. Sleep tight, my man, gone, but not forgotten. And the menchies that lie on walls and in jotters are like scribbled down screams for the other side. So what will we do for the daddyless? Boys scared of attraction, eyes fixed to a point in the changing rooms, rejecting erections, rejected by family, ejected into early heavens for the little forever boys, joining the nameless plague for the mammies. Blowing incantations into strong tea by the TV's blue light, the fuller fridge, the absence of smoke. They dine in for twos, they're awfully big, aren't they? I wouldn't know, hen. I can't eat. Toxic masculinity is virgin on the caustic, fizzing on the soul corrosive. The only harvest to speak of this year is loss. As boys blink out like the lights in a tenement window. So what will we do? Thank you very much. So the next poem is Gay Voice, that Michael and now Ricky very, very fabulously published. And as I was saying, this is my first single. So, should really keep it for the end, but an encore at a poetry gig's not really good form. It is called Gay Voice because I have a gay voice. For every queen, every fairy, every gay boy, for the neat-hipped sprites with a twinkle in their throat, for the hissing nymphs with fruit in their vocals. Raise up your gay voice. Let it lilt and fizzle as if your tongue was protesting your teeth. Lick round your vowels as they clot air. Marsha P. Johnson used her voice to blaze history in place, queer howls, tinkling chants, echoing down the bloodlines. Even her name rouses movement. Marsha, 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 march those words out with the machinery of sound for the benders, scared of questions, worried their answers might start glowing in the mouth, a gum-bright flame. Raise up your gay voice until every gay voice meets in a shrill cacophony of the fabulous, an orchestra of faggots singing sweet into the ozone. Macerate shame in your saliva's liquor. Don't stop until each word glitters, language smelting on the body like a lozenge. For sissies, lisping wisdoms, tongue snaking out of old skin with every syllable, the swoop of voice, the genderless truth of noise. Raise up your gay voice. Let it batter through work meetings. Let your bent recitations bloom in boardrooms like a pink wild orchid. There's pride flags in Primark, but queers overseas still burn. So let your poofy little voice pierce as the proof that we exist. Make every silly frilly, say it with your hands spilly, gay word, gay. Let your T's spill tea as they kick up their heels when teased in your teeth. Let pride catch in your palate. Let your pout protrude in glossy revolt. Let that power loosen your jaw. For every batty boy bumder rejected for lacking a certain thunder in the dialogue, for ladies who baritone, for the jewel spirit pixies, the indigenous godlings. Raise up your gay voice, loud enough to wake our high-heeled elders, our angel-lunged ancestors, our twink-haunted heavens in the crucible of your throat. Raise up your gay voice, because love is felt not in the heart, but in the mouth. Thank you. The next poem is called Tenements, and it is about tenements. Red firmaments jostling the skyline, Atlas-backed manses, Kerry and Dreek, tricking your eye with each bent windy, burnt shooter, skimming smur, sitting squat, tobacco-shaded tenements, windies reflecting sun rages, independent, stoning on his Todd, great survivor of renovations, klimped, licked, ginger, brick, a solid frieze of mason's origami, gutter-lined, lit lang sketches along his surface, permanent. They pressed down the high streets, half hexagon as the sandstone brow of your favourite drinking establishment, blonde, constant. Listen, how sonorous your words of longing, jaunt to the close, bellowing down sliver of solid living, your consonants trapped in its algae-patched grimace, or skating on the line-gilded tiles of a wally close in shades of cheery red, or golden, snooty steamboat puffs adding their very own glamour. as if these behemoths could undock and sail the street, lives stacked on each other, lit stanzas, glow in amber caverns, monstera hands clasped onto windies, what lives these tenements have couried, terracotta pots shorn to a tapestry of jawlines, rain-drenched each year, and yet they breathe, sparkle dry. Peat, brown bruise, blue shade made living light. Fuck your tombstones when I go. Tell them I was powdered to dust. Tell them I was mixed with Scotland's best brick. My eulogy, hail the stain that hames us. Thank you. So the next poem is my Mount Everest, my personal Mount Everest. It is 3 pages long, which for a poet is just far too much work and something we're not really accustomed to. And if it wasn't my launch, I would take this moment to be narcissistic, and obviously that is not in my character at all. And you can also catch this on Life and Rhymes with Benjamin Zephaniah on Sky Arts, Season 2, Episode 6. Just if you're interested in that sort of thing. And it's called Love Story in 2 parts. Like coming home to a bed that's already been made. Like having a come down and remembering you both look as Ed. That favourite jumper that's just went off-frayed, the burn of your muscles when the raw sex played. You're the toy I was waiting for in my Happy Meal. Satisfying day of sunburn, starting to peel, the decision between wanting to heal and to reel, that glorious silence after an enemy's spiel. You're the cuddly bear wrapped round the grill of my truck, the perfectly melted ice pole with juices to suck when you've used all your skill and you've still got luck. You're the eye squiggles when I'm coming up. You're that feeling when you get to take off your bra. After a 5K, you're the bubbles foaming in my foot spa. You're like a terminal man's last hurrah. You're the kind of cunt who says, je ne sais quoi. You're the view you get at the top of the tower. Perfect water pressure in a stranger's shower. Spring sleep when I get back an hour. The leftover pineapple out of sweet and sour. You're the unholy call for a fag after a hungover Chinese. You're the rips in my jeans, getting rain on my knees. You're the kind of cunt who always remembers to say please. You're the wine pulled out the moment before I freeze. You're about as reliable as the McDonald's ice cream machine. You're the alarm going after in my wet dream scene. You're the smelly of hoagie when I'm trying to stay lean. Our horoscopes don't match, what the fuck do you mean? You're the 1% battery with no charger in sight. You're the kind of cunt who'd bring a sandwich to a knife fight. You're the feeling after winter when all your clothes are too tight. You're the Scottish summer night that stays blue bright. You're a dark side daddy, baking in blues. I like you despite the smell of your shoes. Lifeline detective still looking for clues. Wondering who it is who chooses our muse. You're like trying to start a campfire in beginnings of rain. You're that cunt that claps for a landed plane. You're the badging hit on the wrong wheat strain. You're the drama of a scene in a stained glass pane. You're a cliched rebel with no real cause. You're a bad rom-com that ends to no applause. You're the mad Rottweiler who's just lost his boss. You're that one cunt complaining about paper straws. You're the crumb residue in a tub of butter. Prison light coming through the holiday shutter. Bedrooms filled up with too much clutter. The dial-up porn that just went to buffer. You're the Duskink Bonnie in my nuclear Clyde. Love letters filled with nothing but suicide. You're the tenant's pished Jekyll to my Hyde. You're the moondoll and I'm the tide. You're the new motor, addicted to false starts. You're the glimmering red that fills jam tarts. The titillation and elation of broken hearts. You're a love story broke down in 2 parts. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah. I thought so, but it's always good to check. So, what will I do next? Just try to do a bit of PR there, you know. Scots pine. There we go. Everyone know what a Scots pine is? It's the tree. It's a pine from Scotland. Fingers that reached out to cross and froze. Gnarled Caledonia, cacti bend, a Jimmy Plinth, wood, cursive, lost love, gang signs thrown up to Monroe's. The trees reminded me of him. Lately, everything did. Saw his buzz cut crescendo, curl crown, fuzzy, deciduous, slant manner, lines revived by its vigil, sentinel of longing, sigil of the land that bore us. I want this love, arthritic, retirement tan, nodular branch, carbuncle of the dirt, green flash of firework pines, the ancient note the gales make that creaks between their stiff ballet twigs that script how I, Scots pine. Thank you. So I've never actually read this poem before, so it's an exclusive or a mistake. And it's called Poof, for reasons that might become apparent. Poof, and the minutes echo, ooze, cuckoo on concrete. Have you ever seen an F vibrato violence? In the tomato glow of jackal mouths, in every queen's dreams, there's a throng of boys. Black hooded forest, huddled round the pyre of everything, close as a sweat. Eager, drunk on the prospects, shagging and scrapping. Is this why the boa choke feels a little like love? My ogle rebellion. He calls me a poof in the harem of his bedroom, the red wallpaper, pulse, mimic, sheets, shift, stiff, his slur, speaks summons, soft peak, fetishize our spectres. That's right, you little poof. That's what Cosmo and Wanda from Fairly Odd Parents named their child. Loveliest lilac boy, macaron-eyed, giddy and pastel, with each bent wrist, the magic pressed poof on the TV screen. My frame slithered, feigned the same old ignorance as they slurred so easily on Saturdays with my brother. Sugar like a sacrament, dragged from bed on weekdays but bounced as the weekends dawn. Sore stomach, cured, poof, a typhoon of violet, the marshmallow jinx, poof, the will of radiance, a teleporting, take me somewhere, ever camp, glazed, luminous. I hope my brother doesn't hear the hex, hope he doesn't learn my other name, poof, quick scribbled on the postbox, black on red, the final days of a scab, dark weep on the pillar, poof, tattooed along our timeline, poof, how a word can skip distance, trembling owl hoot through eons on boys' tongues like a birthright, poof, I say, haughty and proud, like I had single-handedly reclaimed it, pucker, consonant, double, vowel, moan, cliff-edged F, the old fag says I shouldn't use that word. Talks of how it scarred our people. Years ago, they beat him, knocked 2 teeth clean out, 2 vowels please, and now every time he hears it fresh, the word brands his flesh. He hates it, he's acting like a poof. So even now, when the boys from decades ago igloo around their breath for warmth, for closeness. When they see the simmer of my mints on the pavement, they ready their lungs, whetstone the old tongue's rapier. Are you a poof? Poof, but I heard other boy. Poof, but I heard mystic. Poof, but I heard miraculous. Thank you. So I'm going to do Goonie, because that's why you're all here. And this is my other single. Not as big a hit as Gay Voice, but you know, I think it's got a cult following. Saturday night up the Gorbals tap dancer. In Glasgow's a dark glimmer. Outside the windies, me getting ready for my turn. Spurred on by my aunt. Stage curtains, the blue mist made for the fumes of her umpteenth fag. She's gave me this goonie to wear. Polyester. Hot pressed with the work trousers. It's soft, bauble, wee fabric flowers, near transparent, we washing a heart, a cold bloom. The power of a manky goonie, crackling her skin. A cut is sark in a rain cloud, stamping out the beat to an old ABBA Gold number. My audience are bashing out claps, cotton and starch scratching at my anklets, a floral gully, spiraling rune, a Berlin softness through fogs in Mayfair. My aunt raising her vodka iron brew, a tumbler, a noxious flame, a toast to me and my frilly jig. Och, I just let him wear whatever he wants to wear. My uncle's having a lang with Agnetha and Anna Fried. They've got season tickets for this weekly cabaret. The music fades as feet cease. Right, at your back, son. Come here and curry in. Just before the telly gets turned back on. Just in time. Who wants to be a millionaire? Thank you. So that's me. Thank you very, very, very much. A big, big, big thank you to my fellow Edwin Morgan Prize winners. Woo! Roshni and TT's books are also available to buy beside mine right there. So, you know, this is quite a small place. We can see if you don't buy it. So no pressure.